Ryomen Sukuna is one of the two standing at the top of the mountain in terms of power in JJK, only being rivaled by Satoru Gojo. The fact that he's gone so long without being truly rivaled or defeated, his legend lasting through centuries only plays into his mindset. He's arrogant, uninterested in any viewpoint but his own, looks down on others. He really hasn't anything to prove. The one time he took it upon himself to test himself being against Maki Zenin, being without any cursed energy whose physicals allowed her to stand with some of the strongest of sorcerers. He wanted to put his mastery of cursed energy versus her mastery of body. And this is a severely weakened Sukuna, by the by. Sukuna believes in doing what you want, when you want, no inhibitions. Quote, I've never needed anyone to satisfy me. I eat when I want to eat, play with what amuses me, and kill whatever gets in my way. I live as befits my nature. If no one can grasp that, then that's their problem. Sukuna believes in power, and he stays this way throughout the entirety of Jujutsu Kaisen. The only time he gives any doubt to his philosophy and way of doing things is the very end of the manga after he is defeated, and we will no longer be able to see any more of this character. This would make Sukuna a static character. Definition, a character who largely stays the same throughout a story, undergoing little to no changes in belief or personality from the point of their introduction onward. Some have a negative connotation surrounding static characters, which comes from the fact that most of the intriguing parts of a lot of character stories is how they develop and change from their start point. But Sukuna is a fantastic example of a great character in themselves, and how that static nature can serve a story. Sukuna is a wall, an immovable object. This is in terms of power and psychology. We see characters who are opposed to him or are trying to advance, but Sukuna is an object in their path of trying to progress. So they battle as a means to progress, but they get stuck in their tracks. This goes for our heroes, villains, and in-betweens. Let's look at Yuji, Jogo, and Kashimo. Yuji has strong beliefs he wants to enact and people he wants to protect. Actions and ideals that go against Sukuna. But his own weakness and still growing mindset when it comes to the world of Jujutsu lead to him being shot down by the king. At times he's too weak, leading to Sukuna being able to take over, like how he was easily defeated by Sukuna in the innate domain, leading to the Enchained Binding Vow. And when he lost to Choso, this led to Jogo being able to feed him more of Sukuna's fingers with no effort, allowing the king to take over the body and subsequently destroy Shinjuku, killing thousands in the process. Something that would lead Yuji to one of his lowest points, and a guilt he would keep with him even after this point. Jogo had an idea regarding the hierarchy between humans and curses, but to enact said worldview, he desired Sukuna's power. The only way Sukuna would agree is if Jogo landed a single hit on him, something he couldn't do, leading to his death. But in the moments of said defeat, he crumbled in the face of the words Sukuna would say to him regarding his mindset having held him back, despite how greatly he believed in it and how much it drove him, even shedding tears during this conversation due to being acknowledged in some way by the king. And finally, Kashimo, who felt lost due to his place as the strongest, as he had no rivals, no equals, so he set his sights on challenging himself physically and mentally against the king of curses, burning his life with this mythical beast Amber against his chosen opponent, and seeing what made Sukuna tick at the beginning and end of their battle. So what do these characters have in common? Jogo had no choice but to submit to Sukuna's whims as to have a chance at accomplishing his goal, but crumpled at the sheer might and viewpoint of the strongest. Kashimo, in his final moments, was humbled by the king's power and the mentality he sports as the strongest. Yuji vehemently opposed Sukuna and his outlook on life, but due to his weakness, couldn't properly enact his own, so he had to change and get stronger on his path to where he finally landed the final blow on Sukuna in the end. All these characters had to place themselves on the other side of Sukuna with differing and or challenging views, but they couldn't prevail. Kashimo and Jogo accepted it and died, but Yuji had to face getting torn down and building himself back up time and time again to face the curse that is Sukuna. Sukuna is a final barrier, and his presence presents a clear-cut and adamant way of life that has yet to be proven wrong, because he believes might makes right, and no one is mightier than him. It's almost a paradox that to prove his philosophy wrong, you have to first prove your might to him. But that's not the same as completely conforming to his way of thinking. Look at Yuta versus Yuji. Yuta wanted to become a monster, doing so for pure reasons though. He saw all that Gojo carried on his shoulders and wanted to slot himself into the position to take on the burdens of strength and prevail no matter what that meant, even if it meant becoming a monster. Something that is rather difficult when it comes to the standards of Jujutsu society. But when he did so and piloted Gojo's body, Sukuna embraced this choice in Yuta, versus Yuji, who stayed opposed to how Sukuna lived in his beliefs, and that indomitable will that he kept throughout was what gave him the truest of triumphs over his greatest enemy, something Sukuna himself acknowledges. But it wasn't just these two whose strengths and mentality shine through being pit against Sukuna. We've seen multiple characters' wills, determinations, and mindsets boil in face of the king. His nature, unchanging and static as it is, wouldn't change if nothing would push him to change it, which becomes the underlying fuel for the story and a tool to help develop characters around him and give them moments. So, even without development throughout the story, there's still already a depth to the character, and this lack of change in this case serves the whole of the story better than if he was a character still developing. That's why Ryomen Sukuna didn't need to change. The world around him did.